appreciate that. I can honestly say I've never heard myself referred to as the greatest libertarian someone's ever known before, so kind of took me aback a little bit. It is really great to be with the Georgia Libertarian Party, particularly today. What I witnessed here today has made me proud to be a libertarian. I go to these events all over the country, and I can tell you, if you don't go to Texas or California, this is a pretty good-sized convention, and a good group of people, knowledgeable, knew what was going on, moved business along. We had a chairs race contested by two gentlemen. My hat is off to Daniel and Chris Buck. And I think all of you deserve to give yourself a round of applause for what you're doing here. We'd be in a Libertarian Party. We weren't for rooms full of people just like this right here. It makes me proud to be here today. My name is Lee Reitz, and I've been in the party a long time. Decided to explore the idea of running for president, oddly enough. Mostly because at the 2010 convention in St. Louis, what I heard from so many people was, how come we're not talking about war? How come we're not talking about bringing troops home? How come that's not our issue? How come the Libertarian Party hasn't embraced this issue? How come nobody's talking about it? And I decided, well, maybe it is time that we talk about it. And it's time for somebody like me, particularly, maybe to talk about it. Because I've got a bit of a reputation as a warrior. Served 3 terms on the National Committee, 1 term as National Vice Chair. And I've always been known as the one that's up there fighting for the membership every time, fighting for what's right. I know what it's like to wake up every day and just go to war over something, just be that full of rage at what's going on in the world and in the country. And it can be a hazardous way to live. War doesn't just destroy from the outside, it destroys from within. And until individuals start making a conscious decision to not participate in it, then war goes on. Some people are at war their whole lives. They never leave home. They just wake up every day full of rage, sometimes not even understanding why. And they're out there on the road, and there's rage everywhere, and at the workplace, you know. This is where we need to begin to stop, particularly in this country. And I'm not just talking about the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, where our precious young folks, one of our greatest natural resources, are being eat up in the sausage grinder that is war. It's the war we have here at home. Everything in politics these days is war rhetoric. I mean, listen to the president, listen to Congress. There's a war on everything. We've been fighting the war against poverty since the Johnson administration. And what we did was create social programs that somehow locked poor people into poverty. We've been fighting the war on ignorance since the 70s, and still our children cannot read. We've been fighting the war on drugs for decades. We've created huge criminal enterprises, much like they did in Prohibition time. We've got to stop being at war. We've got to start bringing peace back to our rhetoric and back to our lives. History has shown us and teaches us that there are 2 elements to prosperity: freedom and peace. Peaceful relations with your neighbors, with other countries. And you don't go to war with people that you like, people that you're doing business with. And it's time now that we start exploring that option once again. You have to stop being at war. And as my brochure says, I am not at war, because it's a conscious individual effort. And if enough of us say it, they can't have them anymore. That's how the Vietnam War got wrapped up. And eventually, after 10 years of being over there, it was young people and parents saying, no, we're tired of it. We're not going to fight anymore. And if you're going to vote for war, we're not going to vote for you. And they brought them home. We've got to have that same kind of effort again. And the Libertarian Party, in my opinion, should be out in front of it. We have the perfect message. We have the perfect philosophy for peace and prosperity in America and in the world. The biggest thing we've got to learn how to do is keep our nose out of other people's business. What bothers you more than a nosy neighbor in your neighborhood? Somebody moves next door to you and he's in your business all the time. It's aggravating and it'll make you go to war. Well, imagine that nosy neighbor being halfway across the world and sticking their nose in your business every time and having pretty big guns to back it up. I mean, you don't make many friends that way. And you don't have peace, and you don't have prosperity. We're doing much better to trade with these countries, to deal with things in a more judicious manner, not just go off half-cocked. We've seen ourselves plunged into war too many times over false information and being misled. And it's troubling. It's troubling now. I saw not a month or so ago that we have a former United States president that he couldn't go to Switzerland to a fundraiser because they were ready to file charges against him, war crime charges. It's a shame. It's a blot on this country. It's a blot on all of us. If one of our former leaders is afraid to go somewhere, to go to a friendly nation even, he can't go. He's afraid to because he's going to be charged with war crimes. I'd like to think if I got the job, you'd never have to worry about that with me. Being a military veteran myself, I served in the Air Force. I'm proud to say that I was able to serve my country and not take one single life. I was a medical services technician. It also uniquely put me in a spot to see the effects of war, not just physical wounds. The greatest wounds I saw were the psychological wounds. Young men who had to fight in a war and didn't know why. It changes people for their lifetimes. They never get over it. It's sad. I'm a news editor now, and every night when I have to go in to work and put in those casualty reports, it hits home to me hard because I consider those young folks my comrades. And I hate to see it. I'd rather have a country, bring them all home. I'd rather have a country full of prosperous patriots than cemeteries filled with dead heroes. It's just that simple. This is a proper and good message for the Libertarian Party. And I hope that you will help me carry this forward as a message for the Libertarian Party. This run's not about me personally. This is about what the Libertarian Party message should be in the presidential run of 2012. We have to speak about these issues. We have to give answers to people first, not only with the wars, bringing the troops home, but I mean, economics is a huge thing right now. Everybody's hurting. And everybody's talking about, even on both sides of the aisle in Congress, that, you know, we need to cut spending. Well, no, we don't need to cut spending. They say we need to freeze spending. Well, no, you don't need to freeze spending either, because anything can be frozen and be thawed right back out again. We have to stop spending. If we cut out everything in the budget, except for the 3 entitlements, our children and grandchildren would still be going into debt, because that's where the money's going. Social Security, Medicare, and the military. And a good start would be stopping wars, bringing the military home. It would be a lot cheaper to have them here at home, have our soldiers here at home where they belong, and we could be defending our own shores and not have to worry so much about monkeying into somebody else's business and making them angry with us and having trouble with them for years and years to come. So I really can't say enough about we got to put a stop to the war. And of course, Libertarians can't even begin to think about stopping wars outside a convention hall until we stop the wars inside its walls. We've got to stop warring with each other. I mean, we see it so much today, maybe not so much in Georgia, but around the country. You know, we've got, reformer libertarians and radical libertarians, and, we hyphenate ourselves, we chop ourselves up into smaller groups. We're not big enough to be chopping ourselves up into smaller groups. Let's just be libertarians. Let's do away with the hyphenations. These are issues that all libertarians, regardless of what you think about other things, can come together. It's wrong to kill other people, and you don't teach them it's wrong to kill people by killing people. It's just not a good message. Peace and prosperity is what we bring. It's what we offer Americans, and they're ready for it. I mean, look at the young people today. And sometimes I think I'm back in the 60s when I grew up. I see all these peace symbols on the shirts, and they're, the jewelry is peace-oriented. The children, they, like me probably, I can remember, I grew up during Vietnam, and watching the body bags come in every night on the news. And I remember growing up as a child scared to death of a place called war. It wasn't about where it was. It was just this horrible thing that we dreaded. That I worried about turning 18 because I just knew I was going to be drafted and sent to war. And then oddly enough, they ended the war a couple years before I was eligible, and I joined the Air Force. So, but as I said, I was able to join and do my time honorably and never harm a soul. In fact, I was able to save a few lives. So far as my time in the party, I started out in North Carolina parties, Mr. Urban told you. I served there first as ballot access coordinator in 2002, back when North Carolina was known as the third hardest ballot access state in the country. And that effort, I managed to organize the largest volunteer petitioning effort ever done in the state of North Carolina, a record that still stands today. After that, I was elected vice chair of North Carolina, and I served 7 years as vice chair of North Carolina. During that time, I was elected to the National Committee as an at-large representative in 2002. 2004, here in Atlanta, I was elected as vice chair of the National Libertarian Party. Served in that capacity until 2006. I took a couple of years off. I thought I deserved it. 2 terms on the National Committee is enough for anybody. Wasn't really doing much, and then in 2008, Dr. Ruark called, or her campaign called, and asked if I would be interested in becoming involved in the Mary Ruark president run. And it wasn't long after that Dr. Ruark asked me to be her campaign manager, and I managed her campaign for the 2008 election. Of course, we all know the results of that. And at that convention, I was elected for my 3rd term to the National Committee as an at-large representative. I served until 2002. My ties are strong with this party, as Mr. Urban told you. I dedicated my life to this party, and particularly ballot access. I know y'all are having your legislative doings for ballot access now. Americans can't vote for liberty and freedom in America. Libertarians are not on the ballot. Republicans and Democrats have proved time and time again they're not going to allow us to be free. They're just not going to. So they're just monkeying in our business too much. Ballot access is key, fundamental to the Libertarian Party, and that's why 10% of all the donations that go to my campaign are going to be going to ballot access efforts around the country so that we can have many Libertarians on the ballot, not just the president of the race. But in some places like North Carolina, ballot access means Libertarians can run all the way down the ticket. And there's a lot of states like that. That's my goal, is to have as many people able to vote for Libertarians in 2012 as possible in this country. So that's a bit about me. I really enjoy being here and being with, I have a lot of friends here. I see a lot of familiar faces in the crowd. To see you conduct yourself today as Libertarians, I wish everybody could have seen this. They would be proud. And I hope that the other state parties are going to be in line to emulate what I've seen here in Georgia today. With that, I will tell you that freedom is the answer, if there's any questions. If not, I'll be here the rest of the day. My brochures, my donation cards are on the tables. I got to tell you, they're going to kick me in the hind end if I don't mention that. This is a very frugal campaign. I intend to spend every dime as wisely as possible. Thomas Hill and I are on the road. We drive to most events. We don't stay in a lot of fancy hotels. This is one of the nicer places we've actually stayed in 2 runs for the presidency. So we're not used to being in such a nice facility. But I promise you that I will carry a Libertarian message everywhere I go. Not only to Libertarians, this is not just a Libertarian message, this is an American message. Peace and prosperity is good for everybody, and not just Americans. The more peaceful and prosperous Americans are, it's better for the world. It's better for everybody. We're talking about human rights. We're not talking about American rights. We're not talking about rights that we magically have because we have a Constitution. The Constitution just enumerates human rights, rights that everyone in the world are born with. And we need to start accentuating that message more and more. Peace and prosperity will bring this country back to economic success, financial success for its people, and we'll be a lot better off if government stays out of our way. If there's no questions, I'll be around the rest of the day. I really appreciate you having me with you today. Thanks.